Good evening and welcome. Welcome to the family, the friends, the teachers, the guests of our Project Bridge Youth Ambassadors for 2024, and also for the guests of the Korea Society. It's really a pleasure to welcome you to this community presentation event, both those of you who are here in person and those of you who are online. For those of you who perhaps don't know the Korea Society that well, we are a non-governmental, nonprofit organization solely dedicated to promoting better understanding and appreciation between the peoples of the U.S. and Korea, and especially for the U.S., for individuals to understand the importance of the U.S.-Korean alliance, particularly these days, actually. One way we do this is through programs like Project Bridge, Youth Ambassador. And this is one of our longest. This program began in July of 1993. And the very first group of Project Bridge Youth Ambassadors went to Korea in August of that year. In fact, the first program, and for the first couple of years, it was called the Kids to Korea program. And it was in response to the Seigu, the actual LA riots in LA in 1993, where there were tensions between the African American community and the Korean American community. Back in the 90s, those tensions also existed in New York. With the LA riots and the destruction of Koreatown that occurred, it was the president of the Korea Society, Dr. Donald Gregg, who was also a former ambassador to Korea, who said, we have to do something. We have to do something, and we have to reach out to the youth to really gain, so they gain an understanding of really the shared experiences that they have in many ways, but also to get them to understand one another better. And so he aimed the program at urban youth. Initially, it was primarily all African Americans. And the program we worked through churches, not schools. It was through churches. And it was in New York and LA. And the first couple of years also had DC and Atlanta and a couple of other cities. But really, since the very beginnings, it's been an LA and New York urban youth program. Since about 1997, 98, we've partnered with the Pacific Century Institute in LA, and that is when we began working with schools and identifying youth in schools. We can fast forward a bit, but first I want to show you, this is the first group that went. And you can see it's bent on healing. The initial group for the first 2 years were only African Americans. And then over time, it extended out to a wide range of urban youth, juniors and seniors, but always geared to public high schools. It wasn't charter schools are welcome, but we still don't reach out to private high schools. It's really public school students from New York City and Los Angeles. And as you can see back then, as we said, it started with working with church groups. And this is a picture from some press from a New York paper. So that was then, and whoops, this is now. Here's our New York Youth Ambassadors that you're going to be hearing from in just a couple of minutes, because this program is about them, right? But I do want to give you some background so you understand the long tradition that they have. Another picture of then, and you can see, and for those of you who are alumni, you'll recognize this because this is Pulguksa Temple, and it's always part of our study tour. And every single year has a picture very similar to this, and so this is now, again, with our New York cohort, almost in the exact same location. So you can see it's really with alumni, and all of you will become alumni at the end of this program tonight. You have a lot of shared experiences, especially around the study tour. As I said, this was primarily for many, many years. We're in our 31st year. Program partnered with LA and New York students. Fast forward to 2019, And that is when we started having a cohort from Missoula, Montana. Part of the, it's hosted by the Maureen and Mike Mansfield Center at the University of Montana. And what we did is we introduced a rural and an indigenous people's voice. So, and they actually said, we want to come in, you know, if you really want to have great understanding, it's not just urban talking to urban, you have to bring in the rural voice. We have something to say, and we need to understand, urban and rural need to understand one another better. Each year, each site, through a very, very competitive competition cycle, we get applications from students across New York City. Only 8 are selected to be in the program at each site. And so we have a cohort of 24 students each year from the 3 sites. And as I said, the 3 sites are here. And here's our full group in 2024 at the Tombs in Gyeongju. So you can see it's a very diverse group. It's a very fun group and a very special group. And I have to say that for me, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. It's been an honor working with all of you. You know, they're really amazing because this program really is quite, it's quite onerous at times. It has, I call it a 3-legged stool, right? It has 3 components, workshops. And in many ways, the workshops are the most important. These students have attended 17 workshops this year. And over the academic year. And that's from the end of November. And these workshops run anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours. And they're dedicated. They show up. They do the work. A highlight, obviously, is a 10-day study tour, and you're going to be hearing from them about the insights they gained during that study tour. And then the third is this community presentation. Part of this program really focuses on Korea, learning about Korea, Korean history, culture, cuisine, peninsular issues, the war, reunification. But at the same time, the theme that runs throughout is leadership skills, and presenting today is one of those, honing your leadership skills in public speaking. But another one running throughout all of the workshops has been focused on culture. And because to be a global leader, one has to have intercultural competence. And so we've focused a lot on culture. And as you'll see in their presentations, they're weaving both the study tour and the insights they gained in terms of what we've done in the area of intercultural competence into that. So I'm going to invite all of you up on the stage. So if some of you can sit, a couple of you are going to come back here. They're going to be introducing themselves. And then after that, I'm just going to say a couple of words and we'll start with the presentations. So please come on up. Okay, so we're going to start with Io. So go ahead. So they're going to tell you very, very briefly who they are, where they study, and why they wanted to be part of this program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ayumide Adamu, and I'm a senior at Brooklyn Ascent High School. The reason why I applied to this program is because I do aspire to be an international lawyer, so I wanted to learn more about how different countries conduct their healthcare systems and things such like that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Ramirez. I am a senior at MCSM and will be attending Vanderbilt University this upcoming fall. I want to thank everyone for coming here today on this special day for all of us youth ambassadors. My reason for joining Project Bridge was to challenge myself professionally and academically, and in this position that just that and so much more. And so for that, I'm thankful.
Hi everyone, my name is Hava Capellan. I'm a senior at the Young Women's Leadership School of the Bronx and will be attending Columbia University in the fall. I decided to join Project Bridge because I felt as though it was an amazing way to foster my interest in Korean history and culture, and that it was.
Hi, I'm Karina Fu. I'm a senior at Susan E. Wagner High School, and I will be attending the Macaulay Honors College at Hunter College in the fall. And the reason why I applied to this program, at first I feel like it was because of the flashy aspects of Korean culture, and I just like wanted to go. But at the end, like when I was writing my application, I felt like the divisions between like the United States and like Korea and the cultural differences that made me like, inspired to join. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Zoe Browner. I'm a junior at Columbia Secondary School. The reason I joined this program is because I wanted to learn about what culture was. I always found like speaking in different languages and like learning to talk with people who are different from you very interesting. But like something I never really understood is like my own culture because I'm like Black, American. I don't have like any ties to a different country, and I feel like just kind of ungrounded in America. So I wanted to go and learn what culture was, just so I could like bring it home.
Hi, my name is Edith Garcia. I go to City College Academy of the Arts, and the reason why I wanted to join the program was because I've always had this love for culture and learning many things, and I thought that this would be a great experience not only through workshops but also with the study tour interactively and meeting all the new people that we met and making new friendships. So it was great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Langman. I'm a senior at the College of Staten Island High School for International Studies, and in the fall, I'll be attending the College of Staten Island. I applied for this program because I enjoy learning about other countries and other cultures, and being able to go and experience such a unique country such as South Korea was an amazing opportunity. I just couldn't pass on it.
Hello, my name is Ali. I'm from Dominican Republic and I attend to Flushing International High School. And I'm graduating from high school this year too. And the reason why I applied to this program was to get engaged with other cultures. And because since in my life I haven't been to another country and experience their culture. So when I learn about this program, I say I can't let this pass. So yes.
All go back to your seats, except for our two first speakers that we're going to have. If you want to hit the slide. Okay, so our presentations are going to begin. I think you're really going to be blown away by these presentations. They're really, really, really good. And as you can see, what they focused on the next slide is, and I'll move over here so I'm not standing in front of the screen, they focused on the 4 dimensions of culture. So as I said, one of our themes that ran through all of this was culture. And I have to say that in addition to learning about Korea, they learned about culture, but when you study culture, what's most important is you learn about yourselves. And I'm very proud of each and every one of you who you were willing to take that challenge of self-reflection. And we focused a lot on 4 dimensions of culture, and those are the subjective dimensions, and that's the ones that are beliefs, they're out of awareness, and you're going to hear in just a few seconds from Carlos and from Alex about subjective, but also the interactive aspects and dimensions of culture, the material aspects of and dimensions of culture, and then the objective. And what they've done is they're tying the insights they gained and what they observed in Korea and what they learned about Korean culture by using these dimensions as a roadmap. And so without further ado, Alex and Ali, take it away.
So we did our presentation on the subjective dimensions of Korean culture.
Subjective dimensions of Korean culture. One of the four main dimensions of Korean culture is the subjective dimension. This is the dimension that is least visible to the human eye, but it might be the one that we all notice the most. It is the part of culture that includes the ideas, attitudes, and most importantly, their beliefs. These are these are all parts of culture that we cannot see. Rather, it is something that we notice mentally.
So why is it important to understand subjective culture? Subjective culture is very different all across the world. For example, the United States and South Korea are two very opposite countries in terms of their subjective cultures and key aspects such as individualism, long-term planning, and indulgence. It's extremely important to understand that each culture has their own sets of beliefs and that these beliefs underline the other parts of their culture. And by understanding, each culture can help each other to grow. But if we don't understand what subjective culture is, and we don't understand each country's subjective culture, then it can lead to conflicts between the two cultures. So on this graph here, it's 6 key points in terms of aspects of subjective culture. In the blue is South Korea, and in the purple is the United States. So the first aspect is power distance, and that is how much power, that's the difference between how much power the person at the top of a society has compared to everyone else. The next one is individualism, and that is how much emphasis society places on the individual rather than a group of people. Masculinity is hard to explain, but it's tied in with individualism. Uncertainty avoidance is how often or how rare a country is or a culture is to take certain risks. Long-term orientation is the index used to measure how much each society plans for the future, and indulgence is how much each culture decides to live in the moment.
One of the key aspects that was reflected on the places that we went to is cultural is power distance. In the Buddhist temple, there exists some clear hierarchy between monks, nuns, and lay practitioners. Monks and nuns often hold higher position of authority, which reflects a higher PD, which is power distance, where authority is accepted and respected.
And to add on, even though there's a high level of a power distance index at the temples, there's still a lot of a sense of community at the temple. All the monks work together to operate the temple. So it just shows that even in a culture where there's a high power distance index, there's still an emphasis on community.
The other place that reflected one of the key aspects was in the Hyundai Museum, indulgence versus restraint. South Koreans tend to lean towards restraint, emphasizing self-discipline, frugality, and modesty. Hyundai exhibits a conservative approach in corporate spending, emphasizes ethical practices, and prioritize long-term value creation over short-term gains.
While visiting the Hyundai Museum, we heard the story of Chung Ju-young, who was the founder of the Hyundai company. He grew up in what is now North Korea, and his family lived a life of poverty on a farm. Being the oldest of 6 siblings, he was expected to take over the farm from his family, but he decided to leave his home with nothing but 1 cow and 17 Korean won. Chung Ju-young worked many jobs to save up enough money to start his own company, which produced cars. Through his hard work, a vision for the future, and a sense to serve his community, Chung Ju-young not only turned his own life around, but he was also an integral part of South Korea's miraculous economic development after the Korean War.
And those are some pictures of a Buddhist temple in Korea. This is in the Bulguksa temple, one of the first temple in Korea, one of the first Buddhist temple in Korea. And the first picture is a pagoda, and the second picture?
The second picture is lanterns, and on each lantern there's a wish written on them. And this kind of just shows that most Koreans, they tend to not have wishes and aims that are short term, but most of their wishes are something oriented, something in the long run.
And those are those pictures. The first picture is a new model of car from the Hyundai company, and the second picture is a picture of the Hyundai company factory. The second picture was taken from an observatory, because in the factory, when we went through the factory, we couldn't take no pictures at all. This part is where they ship cars internationally to all the world. And the third picture is a picture of the Buddhist temple, the temple state. And yeah.
Thank you for listening. I just want to make a few more remarks. I hope that everyone here learns not only what subjective culture is, and not only what the subjective culture in Korea is, but why it's important to learn about subjective culture and how it plays a role in how we function as an international community. Okay. Now, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And now our next two speakers will come up, and you can.
Well, thank you, Alex and Ellie, for starting off our presentation. Again, I'm Have, and this is Liz, and our presentation today will be on the interactive dimensions of culture in South Korea. Oh, we have to click. Oh, okay. So we'll be going through 5 different aspects or experiences, interactive experiences we had in South Korea during our study tour, and then we'll be ending off with some personal remarks. In our presentation today, we will include the interactive aspects and experiences we had during our study tour as Project Bridge Youth Ambassadors. We will talk about our interactions with locals, students, the food, the art, and overall the wonderful Korean experience.
Before we get into the fun part, we want to start by answering the question, what are interactive dimensions of culture? So the interactive dimensions of culture refer to how different cultural elements interact and influence each other. One important aspect of culture is that culture is not static, it is dynamic and constantly evolving. Our first interactive experience occurred in Andong Village. So Andong Haho Village was established during the Goryeo Dynasty and continued to develop throughout the Joseon Dynasty. The village was founded by the Ryuhyun clan, who settled in the area due to its favorable geographical conditions. The village became a center for Confucianism during the Joseon period. The village layout and architecture reflect traditional Korean design, with houses built according to Confucian principles. Today, Andong serves as an educational site where people can learn about Korea's cultural heritage and traditional lifestyles. Andong also serves as a living heritage site where locals live. Throughout the year, the village hosts various cultural festivals and events, including the Andong Masked Dance Festival. Flexibility was key during this trip. When our dorm stay at Pongsan High School didn't materialize, we adapted by heading to the Andong Village a bit earlier. In Andog Village, we explored traditional houses, pavilions, Confucian academies, and communal spaces. A highlight of this trip was being warmly welcomed into a local's home, where we had the privilege of hearing his personal history. And I'm not. So, how can we play?
Oh no. It's okay, we can skip that part.
So, I mean, we were supposed to play a video of us like singing Arirang to the local before leaving. But if you can recall, like the picture on the left was just like a group picture we took to remember the special day.
Okay, thank you, Liz. The second aspect, the second interactive aspect we'll be going through today is bibimbap making. On our first full day in South Korea, the youth ambassadors traveled to the Korean Traditional Cultural Center. One of the many activities we did here was getting to an in-person explanation of how to make bibimbap. I had watched people eat bibimbap on South Korean TV shows and reality shows, but I had never imagined I would be making it in South Korea. During this activity, the ambassadors were able to interact with traditional Korean food. Through this, we learned things like why specific ingredients are used for bibimbap and why bibimbap is so important in Jeonju, which is said to be the first place bibimbap was ever consumed, which was 2 centuries ago. Bibimbap is one of the most popular Korean dishes. The description of the dish is in the name itself. Bibim means mixing and bap means cooked rice. Visiting Jeonju as a Project Bridge youth ambassador was so important as it allowed us to explore and connect with Korea's culture and traditions. It was also a wonderful experience to cook and eat something that the locals eat so often. It was also a great bonding experience as we had to work together in a team with a fellow youth ambassador to create the dish. I actually ended up working with Liz, so it made us a whole lot closer. The third aspect I'll be talking about today is the Jeonju Foreign Language High School. This was the first time we got to meet Korean high school students. This was quite a special experience for us ambassadors, as this was the first high school we visited. We were able to interact with Korean students around our age. We were able to have very genuine conversations and play games that most of us hadn't heard about or probably heard about. In addition, Korean students gave some of the ambassadors Korean names, and they got to share their English names with us. A lot of the students and ambassadors shared social media as a way to stay in contact. I personally still keep in contact with many of the students I connected with, and we talk about things like college or how it is like living in New York and so much more. In the pictures, you can see we played a game of charades. I was quite amazed to see that although our social environments are quite different, we were able to find similarities such as the same games we play. Overall, this one was one of the most memorable moments of the trip.
Daedong was our second high school we visited. During our time at Daedong, we were pre-partner with a Korean student whom he had the opportunity to talk to, have dinner, and exchange gifts with. We were also welcomed with cake pop performances and enjoyed a couple rounds of a traditional Korean game called Yut Nori. Next. And so here we have a couple pictures of our interactions with the high schoolers. The middle picture was supposed to be a video as well of us singing Arirang, but unfortunately can't play. But yes, that was definitely a core memory for us as well.
The last interactive aspect we'll be talking about today is free time. During free time, we were able to explore the areas of Korea we were in a whole lot more. We were able to explore the Hongdae area, we were able to tour the National Museum of Korea on our own accord, and we were able to shop at COEX. We were able to interact with locals during free time. Might that have been while ordering food, asking for directions, or even giving out compliments? This made us ambassadors feel as a whole lot more connected to Korea and made us really take in these wonderful experiences. Although there were language barriers at times, the patience I was met with was truly inspiring, and I was even able to use the little Korean I know.
Interacting directly with Korean culture was my favorite part of the trip. During our free time, we had the opportunity to deepen our appreciation of Korean culture in various ways. Exploring Hanok Village, we encounter a rich tapestry of Korean cultural displays and architectural styles. During our visit to Gyeongbuk Palace, each of us selected a custom hanbok garment to wear during our palace tour, fully immersing ourselves in tradition. We also had the chance to make traditional hanji paper, and during our temple stay, we created sand mandalas. So these are additional pictures that capture our unforgettable temple stay, a truly serene experience that connected us with tranquility from across the globe.
Lastly, we will end up with some personal remarks. I valued all the experiences I was able to have through the Project Bridge program, but especially the interactive ones. I'm so grateful for the connections I was able to make, not only with the Korean students, but also with my fellow youth ambassadors who I've become so close with. I was able to learn so much of Korean history through our workshops. I appreciate that after the study tour, we were able to have time to analyze our time in Korea through additional workshops. I have truly made such special connections because of this program. I also highly appreciate the vast amount of knowledge I was able to gain through the study tour and through each and every personal interaction. I am very grateful to be a member of the 2023-2024 cohort.
So every second was an adventure itself, even though our trip was 97 days ago. Like, that's crazy. I still vividly recall every detail. From forging new friendships with the Montana and LA groups to experiencing genuine interactions, this trip was truly unparalleled. It was a journey that heightened my self-awareness and offered me a profound perspective on Korean culture. I am deeply grateful to all our sponsors, to Linda and my peers for turning this trip into a core memory. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then next up, we'll be introducing Karina and Zoe. Yes.
Hi, my name is Karina,
I'm Zoe.
and we will be focusing on the material aspects of Korean culture. This aspect mostly focuses on physical objects and ideas that are created and expressed by the culture. Culture is always dynamic, but material objects are physical and tangible, which stands the test of time and change, so we can honor and appreciate it. This aspect allows us to further immerse ourselves in Korean culture and allows us to come to a greater understanding of their lifestyle. Okay. First, we want to talk about a traditional piece of clothing in Korea known as the hanbok. It reflects wealth and material status and is mainly worn for wealth and ceremonial purposes.
We got to try the hanbok in person and tour the palace. The hanbok is in two layers. First is a skirt that stays on. It's supported by two straps that are like an overall, and then a shirt to go on top, and it's tied together with a bow.
Next, we will discuss lanterns. They symbolize enlightenment, spirituality, and hope, and they're mainly inspired by Buddhist practices. It is also used to guide spirits in ceremonies and rituals.
We handcrafted a lantern by folding hanji paper and attaching a tassel to the top. Hanji paper is a traditional Korean paper and dating back to 130 AD. The tassel is a knot symbolizing luck.
Korea is famous for its food. During our large communal dinners, we would pick from our dishes with chopsticks. Korean traditional food emphasizes balance, harmony, and healthfulness, and incorporates a wide range of flavors, colors, and textures. And it reflects the cultural values in Korea of sharing and communal dining.
Project Bridge Youth Ambassadors love mealtime. We ate a variety of foods. We cooked bulgogi, ate lots of kimchi, tried Korean barbecue, etc. The meals were large and the foods were arranged in a circle.
Oh, too much. Okay, there you go.
Shopping culture is also big in touristy places of Korea. We shop for good luck charms in the Temple gift shop, postcards in the gift shops of the Spacewalk, and you can even buy masks at Andong Village. I have to say that my favorite shops were 7-Eleven and Daiso. They're two good shops that you can find in America, but in Korea, they're 10 times better.
Transportation is an important part of your adventure in Korea. The transportation system in South Korea is highly developed, efficient, and accessible, catering to both urban and rural areas.
In Korea, we saw so many highways. We mostly traveled by bus around the whole country. Something I noticed in Korea is that the highways are carved through the mountainous regions. Korea is very mountainous. And I thought that was very unique to Korea. But then last month, I traveled to Kentucky, and I saw a similar style of making highways. I also noticed the signs in South Korea were totally different. They use a whole different color scheme and color palette on their signs. And then lastly, in the same way that we have little bobbleheads that we put on our dashboard or ducks that you see in Jeeps, in Korea they put giant googly eyes on the back of their cars. So thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope that through this you learned to look at the physical aspects of culture and use that as a segue to understand not only your own culture, but cultures around you. We hope you take the time to explore physical aspects of culture and that you become a global citizen. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, can you introduce? Okay. Okay, we'd like to bring up Ayo and Edith. Yes.
Hi, my name is Ayamire Adamu,
My name is Edith Garcia.
and our presentation was focused on the objective dimensions of Korean culture.
The dimensions of culture. As we heard from Ellie and Alex, culture can be understood through various dimensions, each providing a unique perspective on how culture manifests in societies and influences human behavior. Understanding these dimensions provides a comprehensive view of how culture is both a product of collective human behavior and a force that shapes individual and group actions. Today, we'll be going over specifically the objective dimensions, which are institutions. Some of these institutions are Kochon, POSCO, the DMZ, and KITA, some of which were also our sponsors that were in charge of making our trip being able to happen.
I'd also like to add that a prime example of this was the Jeonbuk International Corporation Agency, which was the first stop of our study tour. The JBICA also sponsored all of our activities that we had in Jeonbuk the first day. And I noticed that their association strives to show people that Seoul and other major cities in South Korea are not just, the only biggest aspects, that, visiting their smaller cities and counties and villages they also hold a lot of meaning as well. Next up, we have the Kochon Foundation. The Kochon Foundation was a really great visit. Learning about the history of the company and their founder, along with being able to make our own incense and get our own custom stamps as gifts, was my favorite part. We were also given an introduction from one of their hottest and most hardworking employees who actually attended college in the United States and is now working for them. And here I was also able to use my Korean to both of the executives at the Kochon Foundation, and I told them "진짜 잘생겼어," which translates to "you guys are really, really handsome." And as you can see from the picture, they had a field day with it. They loved it. Next up was POSCO. POSCO is one of Korea's biggest steel manufacturers, and they use incredible technology in order to make sure that their steel is of the highest quality for numerous products such as household appliances. And we were also given a virtual reality tour, which was absolutely incredible. While we were at POSCO, we were also given the opportunity to see their future animations and current animations through the VR tour, virtual reality for everyone. And we also got to see firsthand how much they value their employees with things such as the education they provide for their employees' children and the housing they provide as well.
Iwa Women's University. It's located in Seoul, South Korea. It is one of the most prestigious universities in South Korea and the world's largest female educational institution. It was founded in 1886 by American Methodist missionary Mary F. Scranton. It is also known for its strong emphasis on research, innovation, and global engagement. Numerous partnerships and exchange programs with institutions worldwide. For example, they have partnerships with Harvard, Yale, and many more. They offer a wide range of undergraduate, graduate, professional programs in humanities, social sciences, natural sciences, engineering, arts, and more. It is also notable for its beautiful campus, notable alumni, some of which are Han Myung-suk, the former and first female prime minister of South Korea, Esther Park, the first Korean female doctor, and the two of South Korea's former first ladies were alumni from Iwa as well. Not only does Iwa have a rich history and significant contribution towards women education and empowerment in Korea, it also plays a key role in shaping the future of women's education and leadership globally.
Next up, we have KITA, which is the Korean International Trade Association. Over the years, KITA has been instrumental in supporting various industries, including textiles and electronics, also including automobiles, which have emerged, which led them to emerging as the key drivers in Korea's export-oriented economy. Initially known as Korea's Chamber of Commerce, the primary objective was to rebuild and revitalize the Korean economy in the aftermath of World War I and the Korean War. And although we were a bit delayed because of the bus accident we got into, we were able to get snacks and see the entire view of Seoul from their building. I also wrote my infographic page about KITA as my topic for the study tour. So, of course, I had to get a picture with the CEO. They also provided us with the bus and driver that we were given for our entire tour and are also one of the Korea Society's sponsors. And in general, all institutions welcomed us with very open arms.
The DMZ, or specifically the Korean Demilitarized Zone. It divides the North and South Korea. It is a 160-mile-long strip of land and site that is used for negotiations between the South and North Korea. It was established after the Korean War and the Korean Armistice Agreement of 1953. It created a 2.5-mile-wide buffer zone between North and South. The Korean War never officially ending, making the DMZ heavily militarized. The Armistice Agreement regulates military personnel and weapons in the DMZ. It remains as one of the most heavily guarded areas globally.
I'd also like to add that at the DMZ, we're also given the opportunity to hike in the very tunnel that North Korean soldiers had mined to access South Korea. It was about 350 meters we had hiked. And I did it in heels, amazing. And until recently, it was considered the most dangerous military zone and border, because of the Korean War. And while we were there, we were unfortunately unable to visit the room where they signed the armistice agreement, sadly, but it was great walking through that tunnel.
The National Institution for Unification, or the NIU. It is located just north of South. It was established between 1980 and 1990, with a history dating back to 1972. It provides educational platforms for discussion on unification globally. It aims to bridge gaps between South and North Korea while emphasizing peace and negotiations. It focuses on unification education for both Koreans and global citizens. It is comprised of 69 members, and as of 2023, it was headed by Kim Chun-sik. There are multiple organizations and divisions and departments within the NIU. The Unification Education Support Act was enacted on August 6, 1999, promoting unification education. And in the NIU was also one of the places where we had a dorm stay. We had the opportunity to stay there for a night. It was amazing. So.
And the presentation we had from the professor.
We had two presentations from two professors, and then we also had a presentation or like a talk with North Korean defector, the person you can see on the screen. And thank you
Thanks
for
for listening.
Invite all the Project Bridge Youth Ambassadors up to the stage. And you can have a seat and maybe stand behind. Oh, I have to ask for a volunteer, maybe Alexa. So, thank you. So, one of the things we're doing now is we're opening this up to Q&A for you. And so, Alexa, there's a microphone on that little table up there. And would you be able to, because we do have a number of people who are listening virtually, so in order for them to hear the question you're asking, you have to ask the question to...
Okay. Zoe's dad. All right. Here's a question for everybody. When you all met with the high schoolers, were there any topics or statements that most surprised you?
And I have a microphone for you guys. There you go, Zoe.
Okay, so before we went to Korea, everybody told me to download Kakao, right? Kakao is like a messenger app. So I was like, okay, I got Kakao. And then I went around and I was like getting the people I was talking to use Kakao. And they were like, oh, nobody uses Kakao. Like, that's so outdated. I was like, what? Like, it's like almost like email, I think, is essentially what it is. So I was like, okay, yeah, I got scammed.
Okay.
It was a great experience meeting the high schoolers. I think one of the ways we communicated as well, it was hard to communicate because of the language barrier, but it was great. And Zoe said, they didn't use Kakao as much. They used more social media than anything. So the way some of us kept in touch was through Instagram, and some of us still keep talking with the people that we met over there.
I think definitely topics about since I'm from New York, and so they would ask me things like, oh my God, how's New York City? Or they would tell me that they've been to New York and they were talking to me about that experience. But also we were talking about college a lot since I'm a senior, and I spoke to them about that. And it was fascinating, the differences between their college application process and my college application process here in the United States.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Over here? Oh, we got one here, and then after that, over here. Great.
I was wondering who you met on the trip that had the most impact on you.
Great question. There you go. The people at Cochin, or
didn't necessarily get to meet the person, but it was more or less just, I guess, this happened when it was on day 4 of our trip, and we had gone to the Hyundai Memorial, and that's something that usually they never ever let foreigners attend, and so that was a really special moment. But each day for our trip, we would have group leaders. So, and that day, I also happened to be one of the group leaders for New York, and I was given the opportunity to put roses on the CEO of Hyundai that passed away, the stone that they had for him. And even though I didn't necessarily meet him, I would say that moment, being able to do that as a foreigner from a whole nother country, was just amazing for me. That was definitely my favorite moment from the entire trip.
Yeah, and I just want to add what she's describing is if we were visiting Hyundai on the day of it was the anniversary. I think it was a banner anniversary. I forget, was it his death or his birth? I should know, but his death. And so there were basically, there were people from all over, right, from the factory there. And they had a very formal hall in which they had a statue, and they were laying white roses, and they invited a student from each site, so one from New York, one from LA, and one from Montana, and each of them were given a white rose, and they could walk up and they could lay their rose with the other roses that were there, that were laid by people who were very influential and highly placed at Hyundai. It really was a very, very special and somber moment, and we all felt quite honored by it. So Io was our representative from New York.
I'd have to say the person that had the most impact for me on the trip was the North Korean defector that we had the opportunity to have a conversation with. Um, Before meeting her, like many other Americans, I used to think that North Koreans were um, they were painted in a light that made them seem almost not human. But after having a conversation with her and talking with her and asking her some questions, I realized that at the end of the day, we're all born human, and it doesn't matter what country you're born in. You still have you're just like everyone else.
Anyone else from your?
I would have to say it would be the people from the other cohorts because it was great meeting new people. Not always surrounded by different people that you don't know, or you don't reach out to people that are around you. Specifically for me, it's hard for me to reach out to some people, and it took me a long time to get to know them and get along with them. And I think one of the most memorable things was also one of the high schools. It was one of the girls. We She didn't know much English, so it was mostly just using a translator app, but it was great. She had a conversation with me. Even though we had that barrier, we could still communicate and have fun, and it was just an overall great experience.
So in the Unification Institution, International Institution of Unification, we had a lecture about North Korea and South Korea. And I learned that there was a moment after the Korean War where the two Koreas split. So not only the countries split, the families too. So there were some people from the professor that was giving us the lecture. He had family in North Korea, and he was explaining us how important it is unification in the future. And I felt that this lecture was very impactful for me because imagine being split out from your family and you can never see them again. And and he also showed us a video about a point where the families got to meet each other again for how many for a moment, but they split out again. Each of them went to North Korea, and they also went to the South. And yeah, that was so sad, and it has a very impact on me.
Thank you. So you can hold on to that. So any other questions? Oh, we have one over here. Great, Alexa.
Okay, so if you have a chance to visit one place and just one place in Korea, what would it be and why?
Ooh. That's another great question.
I would visit the Buddhist temple that we visited on the second night. I just thought it was very peaceful, and after the first 2 days, it was a very hectic schedule getting adjusted to everything. And at the temple, I just felt at calm, and we also did a mandala meditation, which I enjoyed a lot. And then also being able to sleep on the floor. It sounds very uncomfortable, but it was actually, I actually went to sleep like that, Yeah, and I would say it's probably my favorite place in North Korea because I could reflect and also connect with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Alex kind of said what I was going to say, but definitely the temple. It was such a change because New York City, buzzing everywhere. It's like quick, quick, quick. And then once we got to the temple, it was like calmness. It was like you can hear like the wind. It was like just an amazing experience, and just it was so peaceful. And I would definitely do it again. I would also have to say going into Hyundai factories, like seeing how those cars are being made, and like it was just a wonderful experience. So those were the two events I would go over again.
For me, I would go back to Andong Village. As I mentioned in my presentation, it is currently a living heritage site, and so we had the opportunity to interact with a local. And so for me, I think it would have been ideal if I had like an opportunity to like see more of the lifestyles of other locals, or maybe like have a stay in one of their houses. I think that would have been like super cool. But Andong Village was just very peaceful as well. And for me, I think I would have loved to be there more. We only spent an afternoon, and so I think a whole day would have been like ideal.
Anyone else? Any other questions? We have one over here.
I was wondering if there are any experiences you guys had that you wish would be spoken more about in public.
It isn't like one specific experience, but I feel as though the food is just an experience overall. I think that just, I'll say like a personal experience, like coming, like before I didn't really enjoy kimchi, I didn't really like it, but then I went to South Korea and I got like freshly made kimchi, and I think like I ate bowls and bowls and bowls of kimchi. It was just an amazing experience, and just overall like the like how beautiful the food was, how beautiful it was displayed, how many different colors were on the table, and how also consistent it was every meal. Like there was always rice, there was always a green, there's always a protein, and just overall seeing how every time we moved to a different location in South Korea, the food was similar but also different in many aspects. So that was a very nice experience to have.
I think another topic that I think could be talked about more is how welcoming people from South Korea really are. There was this like instance in a food court where I like was struggling to use my chopsticks, and one of the locals came up to me, gave me a fork, and so to me that I like I was like a bit embarrassed at first, but then I realized that the local really appreciated like my intention of trying to use chopsticks, and ultimately I wasn't able to, so so I had to use my fork, but it was okay, I think. And like that was like one instance where I felt like really welcome, because like they realized that I was a foreigner and that I perhaps was trying to learn about their culture but couldn't, and so they were really understanding. And there was also several instances where we were just welcome, really nice, and language barrier was a big thing, but I think Google Translate really helped us. And so yeah, it was an incredible experience overall.
I would also like to add on to the language barrier. I think that's one of the topics that people notice, but it's not really a high topic, I think, because even if there are language barriers, we can still interact with each other. So even if we don't know the same language, we can still have fun together, even if it's just, you know, interacting and not speaking to each other, because that's also a possibility. Like they said in their presentation, there was a moment when one of the high schools where we were able to play games with them. So it was charades. There were many other games that didn't have the same name, but they were quite similar to some in over here in America. So, you know, we had fun even though we couldn't understand each other sometimes. So that's one of the topics.
I'd say that something I do wish people would talk about. Well, also building on to what Liz had said about this perception about Korean locals, I definitely also think that they are very, very welcoming. And I remember like a couple moments where we would go to like restaurants and we would eat, and the people that would work at the restaurants, they're usually run by like old couples, and just the kindness they would show whenever we would order food, or like for example, like I really loved eating rice over there. Like I would be like, Papa na juseyo. That's like, can I have like one more rice? They were also like, they were all just so thankful to have us there in general. And I'd also say, like, aside from like just restaurants, day-to-day people, when we were shopping in Seoul, I remember I had this really funny interaction with this man. I was walking down the street and it was like it was like pretty dark outside, and I was with my group, and there was this another group of like like black people that were also like walking the opposite direction, and he was like selling food at on the corner of the block, and he looked at us and he saw us like both walk past each other. He was like, "I really like your type of American." And that was really, it was really funny to me. And he gave me a high five right after that.
No. Any other great? Another question? Great.
Sure. Do any of you imagine yourselves as being a professional diplomat or ambassador? Are any of you gearing for that?
Well, me personally, I do. I would love to dive into that aspect, since I do want to be an international lawyer, specifically focused on like human rights and everything. Being a diplomat, I would say that's definitely on one of my checklists when I do, like get into law school and everything and graduate. Okay.
Well, I thought you were interested in poli-sci. Yeah?
Yes, I'm interested in poli-sci, but also I'm interested in the military. And something that I wish is to be, well, in college, I will try to join the ROTC, the Reservist Officer Training Corps. So after this program, I hope to be a second lieutenant in the Army. And my wish is to be a second lieutenant in a base in a different country, like in Korea. And yes, I do see myself in a base working in Korea or in any other place.
I think personally, before I get that far into my future, I think I definitely want to study abroad in Korea. Study abroad in Korea. We actually, when we were in Korea, we got to meet, or when we were in Seoul, we got to meet alumni to the ambassador program who's studying abroad in Korea, and just seeing her experience and being able to talk to her was really inspiring, and hopefully that will be my future as well.
We have a question here.
Oh, sorry. Okay, my question relates to how I know that y'all interacted with Montana and LA. I want to hear more about your experiences, some of the joys, and how did it strengthen your ties to Korean culture?
I think that at first it took us a little bit to get used to each other, or start opening up to each other. But I overall think that we spent practically 12 days together, day and night, and we got to experience the same experiences together, but we come from different backgrounds, we come from different upbringings. So I thought I wasn't going to be able to relate to the Montana students as much as maybe the LA students, but overall we were truly there for this new aspect of learning about Korean culture and learning about history, and the open mindfulness coming from all of the cohorts was truly inspiring, and we were all able to really connect on a deeper level, and we all stay in contact. So that was also a very great aspect of that.
I would agree. I also agree with the part that LA and Montana and then New York are, specifically Montana and New York, they're different because Montana's rural.
When we had our online Zoom meetings with the entire group, not only the New York kids, there were some people that I thought during the trip I probably wouldn't get along with, and it turns out those people actually became my closest friends on the trip. One of them actually he was my roommate for 8 nights because of schedule changes and everything, and because of that we stay in touch to this day, and we're best friends. And I think that even though we do share a lot of differences, I think we have more similarities than most people think. And it was just a wonderful experience getting to know people and getting to share my experiences and listen about other people's experiences too.
And in some ways, it really drives home the purpose of Project Bridge. And how many of you are alumni? I know we have a few alumni here. Yeah, I think that especially in the earlier groups too, there was a huge emphasis in the program. We've transitioned a bit into intercultural communication, intercultural competence, and it's the same. But a lot of the earlier groups, and because of the 90s and what was going on, really focused on subgroups, really focused on racism. And so I think that it's, and the tensions between the different races. And I think that, that's part of the program too. And a key part of it is just sort of New York understanding LA, and then when Montana came in. And so it adds a richness to the program in our interactions that I think are really invaluable. So I just want the alumni that are here to stand up, just so they can be recognized, if you don't mind, the folks that are here. And Oliver, who checked you in, both Alexa and Oliver were part of the program, and as Alexa's helping now, Oliver, was helping to check folks in. We're a little bit short-staffed today, Fridays in the summer. Folks aren't always around, so it was good. But I know it's getting late, but I'm just wondering if Alexa, maybe you just want to share one thing in terms of your experience, and what moving forward, I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm going to put you all on the spot. What impact? What impact, or what did you find you've brought forward from your experience?
So I was in the program last year, and it was an amazing opportunity, and I still keep in touch with people I went with today. And I guess the impact is I found my love for traveling, and next year I'll be taking gap year and going to Germany. And because of this program, I learned how much I enjoy it and experiencing new cultures and languages.
Great. Yeah, thank you. That's great. What about in the back? If you can get the microphone. And so Alexa was last year. What year were you in the Project Bridge program?
My name is Alex, and I was 2005 or 2006. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the question is,
what do you think you've brought forward into your life from the experience that you had that year in Project Bridge?
Well, interestingly, when I graduated from Flushing High School, I went to Cornell, and at least two of my roommates, not that I chose them, but they were Korean. One was Korean International, and one was Korean American. So that was pretty interesting. And even now traveling for business, maybe 2 months ago, I was seated next to a Korean couple, and that always comes up, the story of going to Korea. People are very amazed by the specific details that you shared on the in your panel and what I'm able to share now. So that always stood out to me.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for coming. That is one thing. You're going to join an alumni